Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. So guys, it's just been confirmed, or not confirmed, but smash the like button on this video, hit the subscribe button, share the video. As always, guys, I know you all guys do, and smash that like button. It really helps when you smash that like button, so hit the like button. Eddie Reynoso has said that Charlo is the perfect fight for Canelo Alvarez. Look, guys, it looks like this is going to be more realistic. I think what we're waiting for, I think there probably will be an announcement next week, and I'll tell you why. Makabu's fighting tonight. If he gets the win, or whoever wins that fight, I think that's going to be a potential option for Canelo. So I think Canelo's probably waiting for that. But I just don't think that fight's going to happen with Makabu, if I'm honest. But then you never know. You never know. Canelo might think that, I'll forget about the Charlo fight, go and fight at cruiserweight. The only problem is, I think if Canelo does that, I think that the Charlo fights won't ever happen, because I think he'd move up and then I think he'd come down to light heavyweight. I don't think he'd ever come back down to 168 if he moves up to cruiserweight. So here's what I think. Realistically, I think the Charlo fight is going to be next, because I think the money, unless the Makabu fight can generate 40-50 million for Canelo Alvarez, which I don't think it can do. I think it's quite clear that Canelo will be fighting Jermall Charlo next. I just don't see any other. I think it's the perfect fight. Bradley even said it. Tim Bradley said it's the perfect fight for Canelo Alvarez, and it is the perfect fight. I don't think there's a better fight out there for him, and also it makes a lot of sense, because if Canelo moves up and fights Bivol, he ain't coming back down, in my opinion. So it just wouldn't make sense. I don't think any other fight makes business sense right now. I think the opponent is perfect, because if he moves up, the Charlo fight ain't happening. And I want to see him fight Charlo, Benavidez, even Andrade. I want to see him fight a couple of those guys. So I think it makes a lot of business sense for Canelo to now to take the Charlo fight. The Makabu fight, for me, is a fight that can happen down the road as well, because Makabu's not going anywhere. It's unlikely Makabu's going to unify with anyone at this point. I think if Canelo gives Don King, the kind of the message out there that I am looking to fight Makabu, but just not yet, I think Don King will probably match Makabu well, and look to keep Makabu away from the dangerous fights, because he knows that a potential Canelo fight can be made. So I personally think that the Makabu fight might happen in the future, but I just don't think it'll be the next fight. I think there's reports that Canelo Alvarez has been offered 50 million. If that's true, then I just think that's too good a deal to turn down, especially for a fight where Canelo would be favored massively, and he'd be a massive favorite against Charlo. I just don't think you can turn down that kind of money. Also, it's a much bigger fight. It's a much bigger profile fight. I just think it makes a lot of sense. I just think it makes a lot of sense for Canelo to fight Charlo next. The Makabu fight can wait. The Makabu fight can happen in the future. However, if he moves up and fights Makabu, then the Charlo fight's probably not going to happen, because of what I just said. Because the fact is that it'll be crazy for Canelo to go back down to 168. I don't think at this age and where he's at his career, he should be messing around with his weight like that. So personally, I think the Charlo fight will happen at 168 next. Then I think you'll either see Canelo go up and fight Makabu. So I won't be surprised if he fights Charlo and then in September fights Makabu. And then next year, him, having his assault on the 175-pound division, where he looks to clean out that division. That's what I think Canelo may do. But then you never know. You never know. He might take the Charlo fight, then take that matchroom deal and fight Bivol and Golovkin. I don't know what the demand is there for the Golovkin fight at this particular point. I don't know whether Golovkin and Canelo is as big. It's still a big fight. It'll still sell. It'll still be huge. But I just don't think I'm as interested in that fight anymore. I don't think it's the fight that it was a couple years ago. So I'm not that interested in that fight. I think he should fight Charlo, then maybe look to fight Benavidez. Imagine if Canelo fights Charlo, then fights Benavidez, then fights Andrade. You know, imagine his legacy at 168 pounds. It literally clean everybody out and then goes to 175. But I just don't think Canelo can have all of those fights against all of those guys. I just don't think it's practical. I think Canelo's got to select his fights in the sense if he wants to go to 175 and look to become undisputed there, you know, you can't expect him to have 3 fights against Andrade, Charlo and Benavidez and then move up and look to fight those killers there. Because that's 6 fights there. How many fights can Canelo have at this point in his career? How many fights is he going to look to have before, you know what, enough's enough? Charlo, then probably Makabu or 175. I think Andrade will probably miss. I don't think Andrade's going to get the fight with Canelo ever. If I'm totally honest with you, I don't think he's going to get that fight. Unless he does something exceptional from here on in, that fight is done. Charlo, I think it's a very, very good fight because from a business point of view, I think it's a monster fight. It's a fight that a lot of people want to see. So I think the business sense for that fight makes, you know, a lot of sense. And Eddie Reynoso confirmed that, you know, that's the best fight that can be made right now. So I think that's the fight that they're probably going to take. I think Makabu, they'll keep an eye on Makabu's fight tonight. But I just don't think they'll head in that direction. Why would you? Why would you head in the direction of a Makabu fight when the Charlo fight is much bigger? You know, you're going to get paid a lot more money fighting Charlo than you are Makabu. So unless Canelo wants to... having said that, Canelo's got a lot of money. So will he abandon the money for history where he can say, I'm a 5-division world champion, I was a champion at cruiserweight? He may do that because, like I said, money isn't exactly an issue to Canelo. He knows that there's so many paydays out there for him that it's not going to really matter, is it? If he fights Makabu and makes less money because Canelo's made so much money. So he's got to weigh up what he thinks the best option is. I just want to see the Charlo fight. I think it's a good fight. I like the build-up. I think the build-up will be great. I think Charlo would make for an interesting opponent. So yeah, I want to see him fight Charlo. Also, a lot of people have been saying that Canelo's been ducking Charlo. So I think Canelo can squash that narrative as well if he gets in the ring with Charlo, that he's been ducking him or he's afraid to fight these guys, these American fighters that Canelo's apparently afraid of. He's terrified of, apparently. So, you know, I think that would shut that down as well. So that's why I want to see him fight Charlo. But it's going to be interesting. I think the fight, whoever he fights, will be announced next week. That's what I think anyway. I think that fight will be announced next week because we'll be in February next week. So there's February, March, April. So there's not that long left. If he's going to fight early May, there's 3 months left. So, you know, if it's a Charlo fight, that's going to need time to promote and build up, and because that's going to be a humongous fight. That's going to be a huge fight. The Canelo Charlo fight. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting. What I am interested in is if Canelo then fights Charlo, I'm going to be interested to see if Plant fights Benavidez. You know, that's a fight that a lot of people have talked about as well. You know, is Benavidez and Plant a fight which Benavidez is going to be interested in? Is Andrade going to fight one of those guys, and Benavidez or Plant? That's a good fight. That's a good fight. Very good fight. Very good fights to be made. I'm really interested to see who Benavidez fights. Very, very interested. Because a lot of these guys are in the same kind of boat. Like, although Plant fought Canelo, prior to fighting Canelo, he hasn't really fought. He fought with Tsakatsi, but apart from that, he hasn't really fought anybody top level. Neither has Andrade really, neither has you know, Plant fought Canelo. Plant, Benavidez and Andrade are all kind of in the same boat. Apart from Plant fighting Canelo, he's also in the same boat with those guys. So I want to see those guys starting mixing it with each other. How would you see, like, if there was a triangle between Plant, Benavidez and Andrade, who would you see coming out on top on that? I don't know. That's good. Like, some people seem to think Andrade would outclass Benavidez. Would Andrade outclass Plant? Most likely. I think Andrade's a good fighter. He just doesn't fight anybody, man. But, you know, I think the Plant fight's a very tough fight for Andrade as well, because Plant's a good boxer. Benavidez is just he's technically a bit flawed, but he comes forward and he's got fast hands. Could he trouble Andrade? I believe he does trouble Andrade. But again, that's a good fight. That's a very good fight. So I'm interested to see, once Canelo's out the way, how the 168-pound division, and if Canelo does fight Charlo and Charlo loses, does he stay at 168 or does he go back down to 160? Does he get in the mix with Benavidez, Andrade, and Plant as well? Because all of a sudden, then the 168-pound division becomes exciting because you've got a few names there. And especially Charlo, Plant, and Benavidez are with PBC, so those fights are easy to make. You know, Benavidez has wanted the Charlo fight for a while. So I'd love to see Benavidez fight Charlo. I'd love to see Plant fight Charlo. I will say this, I would favor... I'm going to surprise you guys. I would favor Plant against Charlo. But I think Charlo Benavidez is a 50-50 fight. But I think Benavidez could beat Plant. And this is what I mean by styles make fights. Because I think Plant would outbox Charlo. I think Benavidez might be too strong for Plant. But I think Charlo's jab and power and punch power could be a problem for Benavidez, because I think Benavidez is defensively flawed. I think Plant's lack of power might cost him against Benavidez, but I think Charlo's jab and power might be too much for Benavidez. Even though Benavidez is a big 168, I still think Charlo's style could be problemsome for Benavidez. I do. And that's what I mean by styles make fights. Just because one guy can beat this guy doesn't mean that guy's going to beat that guy. You know, I think styles make fights at the world-class level. So, yeah. Who do you guys see? If Charlo, Andrade, Plant, and Benavidez all fight each other, who would you see coming out on top? I honestly think it's 50. I honestly think it could go any way. I think they're evenly matched guys. And I think they're all lacking experience at that high level. So it's going to be interesting to see who would come out on top. That's why I think the 168-pound division could get exciting with all these guys there, especially with 3 of them with the same promotional company. I think those fights can easily be made. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens there. But what do you guys make of Canelo Alvarez? Team saying that Canelo, Alvarez and Jermall Charlo is the perfect fight for Canelo. Leave your thoughts. Eddie Reynoso made those comments. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.